And talking to Liz Harrington today, she said something too. It's like, hey, Supreme Court just comes out and says, okay, all these January 6 guys that they've put, that they've thrown in prison, or some that are still in jail based on this one law. Supreme Court says, no, you can't. That's not the law. That you're using a regulation that isn't built for this. You've thrown these. You've said this felony. These people committed felonies and obstructed justice based on this reg that has nothing to do with what you're even saying. So they threw it out. They said you cannot do that. So what's the Supreme Court doing? Or the Supreme Court's done. What are they doing? What's the DOJ?
Right.
They're not letting them go.
Well, we know the
People
DOJ
are sitting in prison.
We can't expect the DOJ because they're corrupt, but Democrats, but they're on the same side. But where is quote unquote our side? Where's the Republican Party? Where are the judges? Trump put a lot of judges in, right?
Well, DC, I don't know if people really know this. Barack Obama, one thing he did when he was president, he took over that DC court. He added 10 Obama judges to it, and it's just been filth ever since. These people aren't judges. I don't believe in. I maybe show my bias here, but I've just seen enough of these Obama judges that I'm thinking they shouldn't be judges. They're not fair.
I mean, when I see Barack Obama, I see a very intelligent man, and I see a man who's obviously pulling the strings behind this administration, and everybody, it seems I'm surprised that more people just don't see that they are purposely destroying the United States of America. It's so obvious.
Yeah, you're so right. I couldn't agree with you more. And yeah, he has been given a clean pass. There's just
nobody touches the guy. It's like a crime family guy who has some kind of untouchable.
That's right. They talk about Teflon Don, like Trump's
nothing compared to Barack Obama.
Trump is getting hammered every day. The reason he gets off is because he's an innocent man. He's a good man.
What you brought up J6, January 6th. That's another one that just leaves me shaking my head. I mean, these people have been, some of them, obviously, if somebody was violent and doing something wrong, fine. Okay, go after them. But so many of these people have been found now with the video that's come out. People that just walked in the door, that were led in the door, that were
walking around,
drawn in. You can call it a honeypot or whatever you want to call it. But it's so obvious that there's so many people who are rotting in DC or jails all over the United States who have no business being there.
That's so true. There's a couple of them real sinister acts against some of these guys. One guy was down here in Florida. Jeremy, I forgot his last name. Jeremy Brown, is it? The guy that the FBI show up to his house before January 6th.
Jeremy Brown.
He tapes it, releases it after January 6th. So what do? They come, I believe they set him up. Yeah. And he's in prison now for multiple years. And his sin was that he told on the FBI.
Yeah.
And that's it. And what about, do you know about the Rosanne Boyland story? Do you know much about that?
I've heard of her name, but I don't know her story.
I think that story says something too. That's just so sad. Right now we're living in a sad period in U.S. history. It's a lot of corruption, a lot of destruction of this country, and we have to stand up or we are going to lose this country, and we aren't far. The DOJ has been taken over and everything else. So Rosanne Boyland is this lady, middle-aged, maybe in her 30s, maybe, and kind of a hefty girl, was in recovery. She was a drug addict, found recovery, and then found herself helping others find recovery as she became a counselor at one of these centers and had been there for 7 years and helped a lot of people. She had a great relationship with her father. They'd go fishing and she turned into this wonderful person and helped a lot of people. Well, the day of the January 6th, she drove up there with a friend and got caught in this area where the people outside were pushing, and the cops all of a sudden just pushed all these people, just stormed all these people, and they fell backwards on top of each other. Rosanne found herself on the bottom of this mush pile, basically. And if you remember mush pile from a kid, sometimes, or in a football game or something, you can't breathe down.
Oh, that's a scary place to be,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, she was down there, and at the same time, they're spraying these people. with some substance. We don't even know what it is. And at least I don't. And they ended up, she got caught under there. And then her body was pulled out. And there's this black woman, a police woman, that had a baton that beat her like 50 times. It's on video. Beat her 50 times. She's not moving. Beat her. And to the point where she lost her baton. She hit her so hard that the baton went flying. And at the same time, you have these guys, men like you and me, that are there that are saying, stop, you're killing her. Yeah. You are killing her. And I've talked to a couple guys that were in that vicinity. Well, and when you see pictures of January 6th, it's this area there near this doorway where these people are getting smothered. And people started throwing things at the cops. Stop, you're killing them.
Oh.
And they're throwing stuff. So that's the picture they bring up to say, oh, look how mean and evil and bad these Trump supporters were. These were men. There was one guy that was a sheriff in Tennessee. He's there. He eventually gets Roseanne's body, pulls her off, tries to do CPR on her, and it's not working. He's now in prison for doing that. Another guy I talked to was begging the cops. He said, I got down on my knees. I gave up all my dignity. I said, please stop. She's dying. And they didn't stop. He turned around. The cop cracked him on the back of the head, and he had blood running down the back of his shirt. And this is what these guys, and a number of these guys have been thrown in prison.
Wow.
But let me just finish this story because it'll blow you away. So they take her body away, and they end up coming out with a coroner report saying she died from a drug overdose.
Oh, wow.
And her family's like, you've got to be kidding me. She went to a meeting last night. What are you talking about? So then they change her death, the reason for her death. And then they cremate her body. And the family can't even see her body.
No, yeah.
We don't know what
Cover
happened
the evidence.
That's what I think. And I think the body was probably so badly bruised and swollen that they didn't want anybody to see what happened to this girl.
Her name is Boyland, her last name?
Rosanne Boyland. And
Rosanne
this one girl
Boyland.
at Gateway Pundit, Cara Castronueva, went and visited the family, put together this report on that just was, it should have been a Pulitzer Prize. It was so good. I've said that before. Because she talked to the family, and they're like, no, she didn't. She was a good girl. She got caught in the wrong spot, and she died that day. And instead, our media will say that 5 cops died that day, which is a total lie.
Not true. Yeah.
None of them died. 4 Trump supporters died that day, and they never talk about that. They never say that.
Isn't that interesting? If you can control the media, you can control the people to a certain extent, because the people are looking to the media. Has anyone, this is on video too, what happened to
Roseanne? There's pieces of it. Yeah. And it came out time later. And here's again, getting back to this, Patrick, they have this January 6th committee, and they destroy half the evidence.
Yeah.
Again, that's
and are allowed to get away with it.
Prison. They should be in prison.
It's so backwards. So backwards.
And that's the same thing with the election. You don't let us in.